Recently, I went to an estate sale in Texas. This place apparently belonged to a Nintendo one. I ended up buying two and several of these little plug-in games that I bought for $1 a piece. These sort of games usually run on batteries and they plug straight into a Commodore 64 DTV. Some of these are designed to emulate vintage Waxahachie, Texas, but others are more similar to the Dig Dug. So I have like 9 of the units, and I'm going to show you each one, tell you whether I think it's junk or treasure. I'm going to start with the Pong 2600 joystick. It was made in 2002 by Jakks Pacific and has 10 built-in games. The joystick very much resembles the Atari 2600, so it does have games of the era such as Breakout, the original Pong, although it's a single player, Missile Command, and Use Adventure. This thing does not actually have any Atari tech. What it does have in it is one of these. Yes, Nintendo on a chip. It's a single chip that emulates for example, check out the victory scene here in Yar's Revenge. Now compare that to the authentic Atari 2600 version. Despite that, though, I am still going to give it a thumbs up. Next on the list is the Namco Pac-Man game. It came out in 2003 and was also made by Pacific. It only has 6 games on it. So you've got Pac-Man's Galaxian, and Rally X, Doug, and lastly is Bosconian, probably the only game here that I care for. The Namco Pac-Man game is actually built really well and can take a lot of heavy use, and I definitely give this unit a thumb. Next on the list is the Commodore 64 battery. It was made in 2004 by AC Studios. It has 20 games on board. This thing is a real Commodore 64 inside. Now, this thing does not actually have a Nintendo on a chip, so these games are more or less unmodified. Now, this is Cybernorm Impossible Mission. Which was always one of my favorites growing up, and Jump, Pit Stop 2, International Karate. I spent many years of my playing this. So here's Doppler, Eliminate, Cyberdyne War, Dynamo, and Super Sonic. In this Pac-Man game, you can get a real basic prompt with an on-screen keyboard. I definitely give this unit up. Next up is the Paddle game. I'm giving this one a thumbs down. It was made in 2004 by Jakks. It has 13 games on board. So you get Breakout, Super Breakout, Super Breakout, the original Pong, although it's a single player, and Demons to Diamonds. I'm giving this one a thumbs down. Next up is the Sega Genesis. It was made by Radica in 2000. It has 6 games on board. It looks like a Genesis console with... Now, this thing is extremely authentic. Unfortunately, from the factory, the audio sounds terrible on this thing. So, it has the original song. Here's Gax. Here's Kid Chameleon, Altered B Chameleon, Mr. Ravine Machine, and Flicky, which is ironically a clone of Gacky, and I definitely give this one a thumbs the authenticity. Next up is the Space Console. It was made in 2000, also by Radica. It has 6 games. This thing is very well made. The primary game is Space Invaders, or does it resemble the arcade version since the aliens are all the same color? So the next game on the list is Lunar Sinclair. The next game is Colony 7, next is Quix, which was always Quix. The last game is Phoenix, so I'm giving it a thumbs down. Next up is the Test game, made in 2003 by Radica. It has 1 game on board, which is of course Tetris. You can play 1 player, or you can connect the secondary controller and play 2. The graphics are good. I'm giving this a down. Next up is the Miss Pac-Man game. This was made in 2000 by Jakks Pacific. It has 5 games. The primary game, of course, is Miss Pac-Man. It seems very authentic. Here's Seeds. I used to play the arcade for this in a restaurant. And of course, here's Galaga. And here's Pulp. I found that you actually rotate the controller like a paddle. So the game is very playable once you figure that out. The last game is Mackie, so I give this unit a definite thumbs up. And last up is the Atari Flash. So here's Space Invaders. Now, just for comparison, here's Yars and Gravitar. As a result, I'm giving this system a thumbs down. except for maybe the flashback 2. If